So now we're going to bring another client of mine, Kate Bennett. Hello, Kate. I can see you are there. I'm just going to bring you on, ask you to unmute and start your video. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Oh, there you are.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. Yeah, I think it was on your side. I had to be permitted. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you, Kate?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, long day, but good.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking time out to, participate in the summit. So, yeah, it's UK's first ADHD coaching summit. Yeah, so this is great that you're here. So why I brought you on was so Kate, well, I guess I'll get you to introduce yourself, but I think it'll be really helpful for participants to learn about how you've kind of been able to better understand your ADHD and kind of leverage your strengths to kind of produce some very good outcomes for yourself. So I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay, so I guess there's a brief intro. Yes, so I'm Kate Bennett. I grew up in the States, was educated in the States, but have lived in the UK for the last 20 years. I'm a lawyer, stroke solicitor by background. So yeah, essentially sort of kind of long hours, tough job at times. And I was a late diagnosis for ADHD. So I was 40 when I was diagnosed, having struggled a lot in the past, which I can obviously, share in a few minutes. In terms of my work, my day-to-day workload, and just life in general. And yes, so essentially, after diagnosis, have gone on this journey, to sort of, know myself a little bit better and to sort of put structures in place to, move forward in the best way possible, knowing my limitations and, making the most of what I have that are strengths.
So yeah, so Kate, you've had you came to coaching. Yeah, well, what brought you to coaching? What was happening that made you seek that kind of support?
I sort of wasn't able to figure out things myself. For years, I sort of thought, as long as I sort of spend the time and put the effort in, I'll get there in the end. But I was finding that I just wasn't, and things were just becoming frustrating. And I have my own. I'm a co-founder of a law firm, so at the end of the day, other people were depending on me in terms of management skills, just everything in terms of running a business, but also day to day with my clients. And I just felt that things were not sort of not going to plan, but also I just wasn't enjoying work as much. And I knew that some of these symptoms were obviously ADHD related, and thought that it would be good to get an outsider's view on how to cope better in this type of workplace.
And also, you were living in London as well. Like, one thing about ADHD, which we talked about and, obviously learned about, the sensory challenges, that us ADHD is very sensitive to our environment. Did you want to maybe share a little bit about that and what you were able to do in coaching to kind of resolve that?
Yeah, so I mean, for years I used to commute into the city and have to be at my desk, every day, sort of at a large law firm, and later as a general counsel for a company. And frankly, I was exhausted by the time I got off that tube because it was so crowded. I would dread it. I got into my office, but you know what? Always interrupted, by people popping in with like great intentions, just to say hello. But I would get off track. There'd be noise in the hallway. Just, an office environment and that commute like really exhausted me. And so, part of the beauty of, I guess, starting to understand myself better, but also sort of, pivoting to a role where I have a bit more control, is to then change my environment a bit. Well, quite a lot, actually. So, I now spend time, a lot of time outside of the UK in a much quieter place. I work from home most of the time. I still go and meet clients when I need to, but I'm at home, or from somewhere else that I find quiet to have video calls. But the fact that I can actually do that, avoid the commute, and take a break if I need to, or would not be interrupted, makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, also the effect of the weather, something as well that not everyone understands, the seasonal affectation disorder, again, something that very much impacts ADHD, some more than others. But again, in terms of that environment, that sensitivity, that was another thing, wasn't it, that kind of impacted?
Yeah, it's huge for me. I mean, I have an autoimmune disease, and I'm not so sure. The more I read, it sounds like people with ADHD oftentimes can be prone to more sickness. But the damp weather, makes me super fatigued. So sunshine and sort of a drier climate, ocean, makes literally all the difference in terms of energy levels. So I've sort of set some boundaries, and I do take more time to spend in the right environment for me to be able to feel healthy.
Yeah, and that's something, obviously in coaching, because one thing that's really hard for ADHD is it's the whole kind of needs versus wants kind of thing. When they don't understand their ADHD, don't understand that these things are actual needs, things that, needs that need to be met in order for you to be healthy, in order for you to be, productive, to be happy, right? To be happy, that's the next level, right? Because us ADHDers, no, that's like, what I just need to be healthy. I just need to keep going, right? That's the standard we usually set ourselves. Like happy, wow, that's kind of next level. But yeah, a lot of us don't we get confused, and in our heads, no, this is a want. And maybe we think, oh, if I do this, I'm being a bit, so there's guilt
100%.
and kind of, oh, we tend to put everyone else's needs in front of our own, and we're not even seeing this as a need. So of course we don't tend to prioritize. So did you want to talk a little bit about that mindset shift that maybe coaching helped you with there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think before I started with coaching, I wouldn't set boundaries with anyone around me, whether it be at work, whether it be at home. Like everyone's sort of needs came before my own. I would think that, client work had to be done then and there, to a ridiculous sort of standard or expectation. And I didn't really understand that I was also of priority. I mean, there was a lot of lack of self-care. My needs always came last. I didn't really listen to myself either, I think, which was also some of the difficult things. I didn't listen to myself, when I sort of was feeling poorly or felt overwhelmed or felt super anxious because I hadn't set those boundaries, or put myself first. And then sort of the outcome of that is, burnout and just complete fatigue. And you're not sort of serving yourself or anyone else around you, actually. So, I think with this coaching, I've set boundaries, whether it be at work, whether it be sort of planning ahead, like in my family life, to know where I am when, or when I'm required when, but then also taking time for myself when I need to be in a different environment, to feel healthier. So yeah, I think it's a massive thing for me, is the ADHD coaching has helped with the boundary setting and planning aspect. I used to be much more reactive than I am now. And so now I sort of try to organize things and get, I guess, ahead of it. But having the coaching makes me accountable for it, which I think is super important. So I'm always held to task, because, left to my own devices, I would just, let it go and stay in my old patterns. But the coaching has helped me massively with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to do. And obviously, given your role, yeah, you've got so much on your plate. And definitely it's that kind of going back to the why, which we do sometimes, that reminder, hang on, in terms of the priority, what are you focusing on? How is that kind of moving you forward toward your priority, your goal? Because as you know, when you're working with other people, like you said, it's very much more about their needs. It's very hard to kind of set and maintain your agenda in the face of competing agendas. And that's something I think we've done quite a bit of work on. Did you want to talk about that aspect and how coaching has helped you get a bit clearer and be able to kind of, not push your agenda, but, just carve the path through others in a way?
No, absolutely. I think, when I have to plan something in advance, something very important, which I think is, a priority to me, need to make a point, I've run it by you, to sort of say, like, this is coming up. I'm a bit nervous. I don't know how it's going to be received. And we walk through it. And, I found that I'm sort of not putting myself first or my interests first in some of this. I'm trying to please those around me. But you sort of allowed me to take a step back and to look at it from an objective perspective, as if it wasn't me and it was someone else looking in, which, to be honest, gives you a lot of self-confidence. And when you actually go into the situation, and you don't feel so overwhelmed because you've prepared, like you're not sort of reactive to it. I mean, things can obviously always go not the right way, but you've kind of thought about the outcomes first, and feel like you're the prepared aspect of it and planning aspect of it are sort of keeping your own agenda first, before it gets out of hand and it's someone else's, makes a big difference. And that planning with someone, who understands how you think and what may be holding you back from ADHD, in sort of reaching your potential or being able to sort of, communicate in the right way has been massively helpful.
Yeah, it was, I remember that particular session. We don't realize, particularly when we're negotiating, when we're entering into negotiations, same thing, like I guess with employees asking for pay rises, a lot of ADHDers really struggle to, in terms of their worth and putting a monetary value on their worth and contributions. Did you want to maybe speak a little bit about that in terms of what came up for you around that?
Yeah, so I think, it's interesting because, I can negotiate for a client, to the death, right? And say that, this is sort of the position, or, have their best interests always at heart, but also fight for them. Whereas I found that with myself, I was trying to maybe avoid conflict, keeping others around me pleased, when I didn't need to be doing that. Like I needed to actually, provide my own opinions and what I thought was important because everyone else does in the room. And for me, it just didn't come as naturally. And so I think, you helped me sort of point out that I wasn't valuing myself, or my own contributions enough, caring a bit too much about sort of other people's perception, when in reality, what I had to say was fair and I had every right to say it. But allowed me to sort of see, the bigger picture, but, get a bit more self-esteem actually when it came to addressing, a room, and fighting for sort of, my own best interests, at the forefront.
Yeah. So what would you say about, like, in terms of the importance of carving out space? Because quite often us ADHDers in, your position, business owners and, parents, we don't often have any time. And so we're running from one thing to another without space and time to get clear, to prepare, to know what we actually want, so what would you say about the importance of creating space as an ADHD?
I mean, it is massive because, my normal, I guess, MO would be reactive to things, getting things done just based on urgency, and not sort of thinking ahead about what's upcoming or what strategically, is probably the thing to focus on because, you're sort of firefighting at the time. The coaching has allowed me, right, to sort of, set aside that time, think ahead of time as to what my priorities are, where I might need help, and then sort of plan. And again, it's sort of taking that space to plan and think about what is upcoming, like even if it's for your next month, or even 2 weeks or whatever it might be, just so that it's sort of there, even listed on paper. And then, you can address it to get someone else's opinion if you need it, but to ensure you don't lose that and sort of don't get, into a situation where you're not prepared for it and only reacting.
Yeah. So how much more kind of in charge would you say you feel, like, in terms of now that you've done some ADHD coaching? Yeah. How do you feel about, like, yourself and how in charge you are of your life now?
I'm a work in progress, but I certainly feel like I have a lot more control over my work environment and boundaries and sort of, setting the agenda, planning. So things don't feel like I don't feel the overwhelm that I used to feel. I don't feel the panic, or anxiety when certain things come up because I've sort of, addressed them. And it doesn't come naturally. So I think just having that constant reminder, because it's easy for something to forget something, to forget to set my boundaries if I'm not constantly reminded, every month, to do so. So it makes a massive difference just in terms of, I think, my day-to-day, happiness, but also sort of, and I now enjoy work much more than I did, and get a lot more satisfaction out of it because it doesn't feel like a massive burden because I'm a little bit more in control.
Yeah, no, I mean, it has been quite a significant transformation, definitely from, when we first started to where you are now. Definitely, I think, what about in terms of delegating and outsourcing? You remember you were trying to kind of do everything yourself. And how was that going for you?
I mean, terribly. I would spend too much time doing things that I shouldn't be doing, instead of sort of prioritizing like what my time is best managed. And I always felt a little bit selfish if I asked for help, and sort of didn't reach out or even sort of have someone possibly even holding me accountable for like, is this the right thing to do? Like, should you be using your time? And that, of course, was overwhelming. So what I now do is when I sort of pick something up, I look at it to say, should I be doing this, or can someone else? Or is someone else better suited to do this than me? Is this like an efficient use of my time? And it's made a massive difference because it sort of takes away, more people doing teamwork. You achieve more, but then I'm able to focus on the things that I find more interesting, and and delegate other things. It's created a lot more work for other people as well.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, it's definitely, you've really kind of empowered yourself. You've got the systems in place, but I think it's more, you've given yourself permission. You're giving yourself permission to let go of those things that maybe you don't enjoy, that, you're not very good at, right? Several sessions, remember that task, I'm going to do this. But then you did, delegate. I'm not sure where we're at. We'll have to check in around that aspect of things. But yeah, I mean, you've really kind of learned to let go so that you can really operate in your area of unique brilliance. Because yeah, what you say, yes to, you're saying no to something else. And we don't want that no to be your why, like your mission, your priority.
No, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
And I think it's a constant reminder. I mean, something I've been told a month ago, even though I believed it at the time and acted on it. I mean, in my mind, whether this is, I'm sure this is for the ADHD, I forget about it a month later and I need to be reminded. So it's constantly, I think coaching is, it's not just for a small period of time. It's an ongoing thing that, I can easily fall back into my old patterns. If someone's not sort of looking at it from a different perspective or holding me accountable for what I'm doing, to sort of keep me on track.
Like a kind of a life health check, really. Yeah, because we started off doing the weekly coaching and then kind of fortnightly, and now we're monthly. And I think through the monthly planning that you do, I think it works well because you've got that roadmap that kind of keeps you, I guess, accountable, knowing that at that end of that month we're going to be, so how are you going on that? Yeah.
No, 100%.
But have you enjoyed Yeah. Sorry.
No, I have. Yeah, I think it's been eye-opening, to be honest. A lot of my, previous behavior, you don't realize that it part of it is associated with ADHD, and it's not, it's pretty common. And that way of thinking, can hold you back unless you sort of, take steps to learn more about it and to sort of put techniques in place or strategies in place, to improve it. But I think then it leads to just a much sort of happier existence and a bit more, I guess, your life feels a bit more manageable. So it's it's been a very positive experience.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure, and we have fun. It's a journey, and it's very much a partnership, isn't it? It's working together like a business partner in a way, really. I find, and a friend.
Absolutely. No, 100%. No, I mean, yeah, 100%. It's been instrumental in shifting my mindset, and I think it's there's still a lot of work to be done. But if I look back another year, if I look back a year from now, a year ago, it's night and day. So it's made a massive difference.
No, it's been a pleasure. No, you're doing great. Thank you, Kate. Thank you for coming on. Happy Halloween. I'll let you get back to
thank you so much.
And I'll see you
Cheers.
soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.